Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, the National Union of Taxi Drivers has announced that transportation services of all types have gradually resumed today, Thursday, across all the country's provinces. The health authorities of the Gaza Strip have warned about the worsening crisis related to the shortage of laboratory consumables. An emergency meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation will be held to examine the dangerous developments unfolding in Somalia. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Salmani. The National Union of Taxi Drivers has announced that transportation services of all types have gradually resumed today, Thursday, across all the country's provinces. The union assures in its statement all the citizens in general and passengers in particular that things are returning back to normal and that the continuity of public services is guaranteed in all responsibility and commitment. It also expressed its pride and appreciation of all transporters, taxi drivers and freight carriers for their wise response to the union's calls, for their sense of responsibility and their prioritization of the interests of the nation and its citizens above anything else. The President of the Council of the Nation, Mr. Azouz Nasri, received representatives of transport sector unions on Thursday afternoon. The meeting was attended by the National Transport Union, affiliated with the General Union of Algerian Workers, the National Union of Taxis, and the National Federation of Passenger and Goods Transporters, affiliated with the General Union of Algerian Traders and Craftsmen. As legislative elections approach, a political party has emerged again to present itself as the only true patriot by creating noise and conflict to gain support, using social problems instead of offering real solutions. Its speeches are empty and based on old electoral tactics. Mohamed Khatil has more.
The party's claim of patriotism is questioned because one of its members served in the French army and did not attend the vote on a law condemning French colonialism. This shows a clear contradiction between the party's words and actions. The party also takes advantage of workers' anger, especially in the transport sector, by spreading confusion about the traffic law that was meant to protect people. This behavior shows irresponsibility and political exploitation. In its ongoing campaign against the government, this party deliberately ignores an undeniable fact: the gradual implementation and denouncement of major presidential decisions with profound social implications. It particularly ignores the decision taken by the President of the Republic to raise the minimum wage, increase unemployment benefits, and raise pensions. He also decided to import 1 million sheep for Eid al-Adha to control prices and help families. Other measures include subsidies for basic goods, higher public wages, more housing programs, and better health care. These actions aim to protect civilians' living standards and dignity, but the party keeps criticizing the government and stays stuck in old ideas that create division and instability, showing it cannot meet today's national challenges. It's worth recalling that this party remains entrenched in a rigid ideology dating back to the 90s, fueled by a culture of chaos, division, and obscurantism. This demonstrates at every juncture in modern history its structural inability to rise to the level of national challenges. During the Blessed Popular Movement, this same party aligned itself with the gang, supporting the fifth term, then defending the extension of the fourth term, and shamelessly aligning itself with official French positions and those promoted by Xavier Doriancourt, known for his neo-colonial ideas.
Now, the National Authority for the Prevention and Combating of Crimes Related to Information and Communication Technologies has issued a statement warning against subversive posts disseminated on social media platforms by individuals residing abroad and known for their hostility towards Algeria, with the aim of inciting merchants and tradesmen to go on strike today, Thursday. The authority added that the ultimate goal of the campaign is to destabilize the country. A video conference meeting was held at the headquarters of the Ministry of Pharmaceutical Industry between representatives of the ministry, their counterparts from the Ministry of Health, and Omani investment organizations to examine and discuss joint investment opportunities between economic operators from both countries. The meeting aimed at strengthening bilateral cooperation between Algeria and the Sultanate of Oman, emphasized continuing coordination to turn shared political will into effective, profitable partnerships in the pharmaceutical sector, agreeing also on official exchanges and a timeline to implement the cooperation roadmap. The meeting follows the outcomes of Minister of Pharmaceutical Industry Ouassim Kouidri's working visit to the Sultanate of Oman last December, where opportunities to strengthen cooperation and joint investment were examined in pharmaceutical industry development, technical expertise exchange, research and development support, technology transfer, and access for Algerian pharmaceutical products to Omani and neighboring markets. Now to international news to the Middle East. The health authorities of the Gaza Strip have warned about the worsening crisis related to the shortage of laboratory consumables, which has reached catastrophic levels, alerting to its impact on the care of Palestinian patients. The details in this report by Masoud Sharfi.
Local media reported that 75% of medical chemistry reagents, 72% of bacteriological consumables, and 90% of equipment for tests and transfusions are unavailable, forcing the suspension of essential examinations for patients with no supplies authorized for laboratories and blood banks for months. Gaza health authorities warned that the continuation of these restrictions signals a worsening of the crisis to a point likely to hinder patient diagnosis and the performance of chirurgical procedures, calling on relevant patients for urgent intervention to reinforce laboratory and blood bank stocks. In the same context, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, confirmed that bad weather is worsening the already deteriorating conditions in the Gaza Strip, which has been suffering from the ravages of Zionist extermination as the occupation's bombing continues despite a ceasefire agreement. UNRWA wrote in a statement on social media that the already deteriorating conditions in Gaza are worsening with the bad weather, warning that flooding and the collapse of shelters expose displaced families, many living in tents or unusable buildings, to greater risks, and adding that what should have been a seasonal storm is turning into a humanitarian crisis that threatens lives.
The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs has emphasized that fuel shortages and the closure of several roads are significantly slowing humanitarian aid in the Gaza Strip, devastated by over 2 years of Zionist genocidal aggression. In its daily report, OCHA stated that while fuel deliveries have resumed, ongoing access restrictions and shortage or stored problems continue to increase costs and delay aid. The report also highlighted that United Nations partners were able to resume the monthly distribution of food rations for the first time since October 2023, benefiting 100,000 people. The office added that since the ceasefire that came into effect in Gaza last October, 35 health service points have been reactivated and 25 new ones established, including 12 primary healthcare centers, mainly in the northern part of the enclave. The number of temporary learning spaces has also increased to 424, with 2 opening between January 3rd and 4th. The Organization of the Islamic Cooperation has announced that it will hold an emergency meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers on January 10th to examine the dangerous developments unfolding in the Federal Republic of Somalia. The details with Mohammed Khatel.
In a statement, the OIC specified that the meeting comes in the wake of recent developments linked to the announcement by the Zionist entity of its recognition of what is referred to as the Somaliland region as an independent state, a move considered as infringement on Somalia's sovereignty and the unity of its territory. The meeting aims to forge a unified Islamic position in response to these developments and to reaffirm steadfast support for Somalia's sovereignty and territorial integrity in accordance with international charters and the relevant resolutions of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Earlier, the Secretary General of OIC, Hussein Ibrahim Taha, condemned the recent visit by Zionist official to the Somali city of Hargeisa, considering that this step constitutes a flagrant violation of the sovereignty of the Federal Republic of Somalia, its unity and its territorial integrity. In a statement, the OIC Secretary General stressed that any unauthorized official presence in the Federal Republic of Somalia is illegal and violates the Charter of the United Nations, reaffirming the OIC's steadfast support for Somalia's sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity, and urging the international community to end practices threatening security and stability in the Horn of Africa. In this regard, the Somali ambassador to Algeria, Yusuf Ahmed Hassan, warned that any engagement with Israel threatens Somalia's sovereignty and regional stability.
Any act of engagement, recognition or diplomatic opening with Israel, which is not internationally recognized within the territory of the Federal Republic of Somalia, continues a direct infringement on the unity and sovereignty of a state that is a member of the African Union and the United Nations. Such steps, if they occur, raise legitimate concern among African countries due to the risk they pose to destabilization and to opening the door to new tensions in the Horn of Africa region, an area already suffering from security fragility and complex development challenges. Accordingly, these practices do not serve regional peace, may instead lead to the creation of new conflicts in a sensitive and strategic region.
It's worth recalling that the Somali Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation condemned the visit of the so-called foreign minister of the Zionist entity to Hargeisa as a blatant violation of Somalia's sovereignty, political unity and territorial integrity, and unacceptable interference in the internal affairs of a United Nations member state.
Now, in Sudan, at least 10 civilians were killed in El Obeid, the capital of North Kordofan State, during a drone strike carried out by the Rapid Support paramilitary forces on a residential area. Local media sources reported that the drone hit a house, killing 9 members of the same family, including women and children, and 1 other person. Several neighbors were also injured. This attack comes amid a sharp escalation of the conflict in Sudan since the beginning of the year. The situation in Sudan worsened in April 2023 due to disagreements between the chairman of the country's Sovereignty Council and army commanders. And the clashes that broke out in Khartoum quickly spread to other regions of the country. Currently, the most difficult situation is unfolding in Darfur and Kordofan areas. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. World Braille Day was celebrated this week to raise awareness of the importance of Braille as a means of communication in the full realization of the human rights for blind and visually impaired people. The date for the event was chosen on the 4th by the United Nations General Assembly via a proclamation in November 2018. The next program is about this topic. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to your weekly program, The Health Magazine, devoted this week to World Braille Day, celebrated on January 4th each year. World Braille Day was established by the United Nations General Assembly in November 2018, marking the birthday of Louis Braille, who invented the Braille system in the early 19th century. This day serves to promote awareness of the challenges faced by blind,